Welcome to the final presentation for the Curlo Capstone project. This program was completed as part of Portland State's Capstone Program. Curlo is a web application that enables club curlers from across the country to be able to compete with one another. This goal is achieved through a website and a rating system that's incorporated within the website. Let's start by taking a look at the team. The team was made up of 7 software engineers. Myself, Bennett, Desmond, I was the team lead, and then there were 6 other software engineers: Ross, Vincent, Austin, Billy, Ray, and Andres. Let's start by taking a look at a quick demo of Curlo. When we set out to build Curlo, our main objectives were to build a powerful and intuitive website. In order to accomplish these goals, we built a beautiful user interface, and we also built a set of robust tools on the back end. When a user navigates to Curlo, they are immediately presented with the landing page. From the landing page, any user has the ability to view all the ratings of all the teams in Curlo. We can use the filter on top to filter teams based on the different categories that they are competing in. This gives us a listing of all the teams in that category, ordered by their rating. From here, we can look through the different teams by using the pagination feature on this page. Now, speaking of teams, let's take a look at how to create a team in Curlo. In order to create a team, an individual simply needs to click on the sign up button on the landing page. From here, the user will be directed to sign in. Currently, sign-ins are all handled through Google Single Sign-On. Once the user has authenticated through Google Single Sign-On, they will be presented with the sign-up page. When it comes to forms, we really cared about privacy. We took the time to make sure to only request the information that we need. Once the user has entered all the necessary information for their team, they simply need to click the green Create Account button in order to set up their account. The user is then navigated to their profile page where they are presented with all their information for their account. In one snapshot, the user can see all of their team information in one beautiful view. We can see the team's account information, we can see the team's matches that they've played, and then we can see on the bottom the team's rating and the team's rating history. From there, if we want to take a closer look at the team's matches, we simply can click on the View Matches button, and that will navigate us to the Matches page. The Matches page gives us a clean UI to represent all of the matches information that we need to see. In here, the team can use our handy dropdown to sort matches based off the date or off of the outcome of the game. It's also possible to use our search function at the top to filter based on another attribute. Now you'll notice on this page the location column. This column represents the host account. Let's take a look at how to create a host account. In order to create a host account, we simply need to enter all the information necessary for a host account on the host signup page. From here, we can click the Request Account button, which will lead us to a page telling us that our account is under review. Host accounts are not created immediately since we at Curlo need to verify that the host is actually a host and not a spam account. This verification is done by the admin, and we will look at that here in a little bit. Once your host account has been accepted, you will be presented with the Curlo host profile page. This page gives the host a good snapshot of all their information and also a snapshot of the matches that have been played at their location. Now, we've been talking a lot about matches, but how are these matches being added? These matches are inputted into Curlo via the Add Match page. Both the teams and the hosts have the ability to input matches, but we're going to take a look at the host Add Match page. Let's enter a match. Let's select a tie match. Let's enter a date for the match. Let's select the first curling team, the second curling team, and then let's select the sheet of ice that the match was played on. We can also add a comment, but this is not required. Lastly, we can click Add Match Result, and the match will be added to Curlo. The last account that we want to take a look at is the admin account. When an admin logs in, they're presented with the host account request page. As we saw earlier, hosts are not able to create an account immediately, but have to be accepted by the Curlo admin. We have the ability here to accept or reject teams, and let's do a test rejection here. When we jump over to the Rejected tab, we can see that that team has now been rejected. We can also see here all the hosts that have been accepted. The last page that we're going to take a look at is the Glico admin page. This page gives us all the tools necessary to manage the Glico rating system for Curlo. Here, we can start by looking at the Calculate button. This button is used to calculate a new rating period. With one click, a Curlo admin can start a new rating period and tabulate all the results from the last rating period. Here we're also given the Glico defaults for the Curlo system, and then also we have a nice snapshot here of past rating periods. This has been a quick demo, but we hope this gives you a better feel for what Curlo has to offer. Let's take a quick look at our target market and some assumptions that we have baked into Curlo. Our target market is club curlers, and we assume that club curlers want a way to compete with each other. Next, Ross is going to cover some key features about Curlo.
The three key features of Curlo are the creation and management of accounts, matches, and ratings. These are broad categories which include many sub-features, so they took up the bulk of our effort. There are three types of Curlo accounts: teams, hosts, and administrators. Each of these account types uses the Google Single Sign-On API to perform authentication. To create any type of account, a user must first register through a common sign-up form. Once they do so, they're redirected to a page that allows them to choose between a team account and a host account. Currently, admin accounts are created by the dev team manually, so users can't request one directly through our website. If a user requests a host account, the request must first be granted by an admin. This means that they could wait for up to a week before they hear back about that request. This is done to ensure that every host account on Curlo belongs to an actual, real-life curling facility. Team accounts have access to a team profile page, which uses server-side rendering to determine which team's info to display. This page includes the team's ranking, match history, contact information, and roster. The account API is the backbone of all these features, and includes functions that insert new users and teams into the database, update user and team information, and modify account status. The matches functionality includes both the ability of hosts to share with the world what matches took place at their facility, as well as the ability of teams to track their own match history. For verified hosts, Curlo offers an add match page, which allows the host to submit a match that took place at their facility into the database. All matches visible in Curlo can be traced back to this page. For teams, Curlo offers a matches page. This page also uses server-side rendering to populate a table which keeps track of a single team's match history. It can be sorted by date and match outcome. It also includes a search bar, which allows users to filter out matches based on a query. Hosts have a host matches preview section on their profile page. This is a comprehensive list of all matches that have taken place at their facility. Similar to the account API, the matches API forms the backbone of all of these sub-features. It includes functions that allow hosts to insert matches into the database, as well as querying the database for particular hosts or teams' matches. The ratings functionality allows admins to view and update Glico rating periods, teams to view their ratings, and casual users, including those without an account, to view ratings for all teams registered through Curlo. The admin Glico page allows admins to access the default Glico variables used to calculate a team's Glico rating. It also displays the various rating periods that have been used over the course of Curlo's rating history and allows admins to calculate team ratings for the current rating period. This functionality relies upon the Ratings Update API, which queries the database for relevant ratings information for all teams, calculates a rating for each team based on this information, and then creates a new rating period. Teams can view their Glico rating on their personalized profile page. This information is also obtained via server-side render. For curious fans who don't have any type of account, there's a public ratings page. This displays the ratings for all teams registered with Curlo. It includes their ranking, rating, team name, rating trend, and roster. Users can obtain ratings based on competition type. For example, it is possible to only display U18 ratings or women's ratings.
Thank you, Ross, for covering the project features. My name is Billy, and I will talk about additional work that may be done on the project in the future. After that, I will dive into the technology stack and the deployment infrastructure for Curlo. While the Curlo system is fully functional, there are a few more features that may further enrich the user experience. Version 2.0 is planned to come with the ability for team and host to edit the profiles. Admin will now find a richer user interface to manage the backend data. Team profile pages will get a public view for any visitors to see. Also arriving in version 2 are more options for logging in, such as via the email and password. And last but not least, internationalization is also featured in 2.0. Now, in order to deliver these wonderful features of Curlo, we were careful in selecting our tech stack. The REST APIs and server-side renderings are integral parts of Curlo's front end, and we leverage the power of the Next.js framework to achieve the server-side rendering so that users can see the fully loaded pages upon visiting the site. Also, you can see our tech stack is TypeScript. Our entire codebase uses TypeScript as opposed to plain JavaScript, so that our codebase are highly maintainable and runtime errors are reduced. Chakra UI is our component library of choice. It allows us to use the same custom theme across the entire app, so pages on the Curlo site share a single color scheme. We choose to use SQLize database ARM library so that we can focus on developing business logic instead of converting objects to and from database results. Also included in the tech stack are AWS, Jira, Confluence, GitHub, and Cypress, just to name a few. These tools are vital in the development and deployment process, which we'll talk about in the upcoming sections. Now let's take a look at the deployment infrastructure. Curlo is deployed on AWS, running in containers managed by the Elastic Container Service, ECS. When a user visits the site, a request will be sent by the browser, and it will be handled by a container in the ECS cluster. The Curlo backend then processes the request, checks if the user is logged in, and may proceed to further process the request or redirect the user to Google Single Sign-On to log in. In the case that the user is already logged in, the Curlo backend will interact with the database in the RDS cluster and returns a response back to the user. Now, to the right of the diagram is Curlo's release process. On each Curlo release version, the app is built into a Docker image and stored in the AWS Elastic Container Registry. This step is achieved in a completely automated CI pipeline in GitHub Actions. ECS then rolls out new containers running in the newly released version and gradually decommission any outdated containers. Now in production, the update should be seamless to the end user and minimal downtime is expected. So that sums up the infrastructure for Curlo, and next we'll discuss the Curlo development process.
Hi, my name is Andres. We'll be telling you about our development process. To work on this project, we had to break it down into parts, and then we would work on them in 1 week sprints. They would last from Monday to Monday and would meet 3 times a week just to update the rest of the group and to discuss any roadblocks or issues that we were having. On Fridays especially, we would discuss the upcoming tickets for the next week. We would look at them, ask any questions. We would rate them based on how difficult we perceive them to be. Just predict any roadblocks that would come up. That way we just knew what to expect. And then on Monday, we would be assigned these new tickets, or we would choose them, and then we would take a retrospective look at our past week. We would give feedback on what went well, what didn't, what we needed to work on, what the direction the project was going. This really allowed us to refine our development process. To organize all of the tickets that we had, we used Jira. And we had columns for work that was needed to be done, work that was in progress, work that was done but needed to be reviewed, and then work that was done. And they just gave us all a real-time update on things that were being worked on, and was just a good visual aid for the group. And some tickets had Confluence pages, which were just documentations of web pages. It would have visual representations of what the web pages, what it needed to look like. It had technical aspects that needed to be implemented and just any nitty-gritty info. And this really gave consistency to the website and was generally just a good guideline for what implementations needed to look like. All of our code lived in GitHub. This just gave us control over version control, allowed us to work on branches individually, and then allowed us to code review and also test our branches. So we would require 2 peer reviews for any code that was written, and then it had to pass our Cypress tests. And this was to make sure that any code going to the main branch was A-OK and wouldn't break production. And once that was done, we could be merged and we would move on.
Hello, I'm Vincent. For contributions, we started out doing pages solo, and then we started to do pair programming to make more pages. Afterwards, we started doing tickets solo again, focusing on adding to and refactoring pages on the front end and back end, so we'd all get a taste of how every page is like. You can see our most significant contributions on the slide.
While working on Curlo, our group ran into issues that couldn't be predicted, with 4 major events that really tripped us up. The first main unexpected event involved setting up our site's hosting over Amazon Web Services. AWS as a robust performance system meant a high price for hosting. Besides its difficulty to learn, its free trial meant we were on the clock before getting charged. Another unexpected event involved user feedback, as our sponsored research mid-project found that end users seek the team-focused site, not anything individual, which meant pivoting the project and making changes to it. Our third and major unexpected event was the refactoring of our database queries. We started off by writing our series queries with raw SQL, though its vulnerability and testing impracticality led to adopting SQLite instead at the cost of some time. Our last main unexpected event involved us taking time to create teams, hosts, and match data from scratch, as well as emails, which became an issue since repeatedly logging in from different computers triggered the email security service and not letting us log in at times. The software development process is not always predictable, but we were able to take on multiple unexpected events.
Thanks, Raymond. Moving on to sponsor feedback. Sponsor feedback is important to us. We met with our sponsor on a weekly basis, which not only gave them insight into our development process, but allowed us to develop a product specifically to their needs. In the end, our sponsor was very happy with our end product. Moving on to what we learned. Firstly, pair programming is effective and important. Going into development, we each had different backgrounds and experiences, and throughout development, we all learned new approaches and techniques. Because we were full-stack developers, sometimes our responsibilities fell outside of our experience. So help from our team allowed us to solve problems faster and more reliably. Second, a well-defined database schema is imperative, and by that I mean perfecting the schema before implementation is important. Throughout development, we had to refactor table field types, table columns, entire tables, as well as their dependencies, and it took a lot of time and effort on our part to fix. Lastly, ticket grooming is beneficial. We would go over each ticket as a group and rate their complexities as part of our workflow each sprint. Not only did it help define the problem, but it allowed us to collaborate as a team on the initial approach. Now we'll go over to the wrap-up with Bennett.
This capstone project has been an incredible experience. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and thank you to our sponsor, Dr. Bruce Irvin, for making this such a successful project.